So here we are again, down at the potting bench now. We've taken the material from the garden. I'm just going to show you the range of equipment that you might need to have when we're doing successful softwood cuttings. The first thing I'm going to show you is another couple of plants, just as an example of the type of material that you could use. So it doesn't have to have been in the border, it could be in a pot. So for example, we've got a lovely geranium here, or properly called a pelargonium. And we've got another patio plant, this is called bacopa, and I'll be showing you how to take some material from that as well. So just to remind you, these plants, when we take them from cuttings, will cost you nothing apart from the time taken. So that's the plant material. I'm going to bring you down now and show you the pots. Now, in the age of recycling, we ought to be using reusing pots. This is a recycled pot. Not only is it recycled from last year, but it's made from recycled plastic. And I prefer to use a square pot, but you don't have to be using square pots. Round pots will be perfectly fine. The thing to bear in mind is the overall size. It doesn't want to be huge because we don't want the cuttings to saturate in the compost. So a nice pot like this is a 9cm square pot, and inside it we've got a peat-free compost. Now, ideally we want this compost to be free draining. It mustn't be garden soil. Garden soil has got too many bacteria and microbes in it which will affect the ability of the propagated material to strike. And what I've done is I've filled this pot to the top, gently tapped it on the bench, and then I've watered it. So that's a well watered pot full of compost. Next thing I want to talk to you about is what you're going to use to be taking your cuttings. Now, there's a range of things you can use, and I've just got a few here. You can, if you're concerned about using knives, and we are going to be talking about using knives, you can use scissors. The thing to bear in mind is they need to be sharp and they need to be clean. You can use a craft knife, and you can a hobbyist craft knife is perfectly fine. Again, needs to be sharp, needs to be clean. If you're really kind of careful, you can actually use Stanley knife blades, and in fact these are very good because they are incredibly sharp and you can use them to actually slice through the material. The only issue with that is if you leave them lying on the bench, there's clearly a hazard. What I use, and what commercial propagators will use, is a proper cuttings knife that goes back inside a handle, and that's nice and safe when you're finished using it, and it clicks out, and you can keep that nice and clean and honed onto a stone. The other thing I want to show you about taking cuttings and doing cuttings at home is you should try to always cut on a surface which is easily cleaned and is actually stable. What I don't want to encourage you to do, and you might see professional propagators do this, is cut against their thumb. That's something you shouldn't be encouraged to do. So use a tile like this on a nice bench. Other things that we might think to need to use are, this is some milky polythene, and we're going to use that once we've taken the cuttings and we've put them into the pot. We're going to use that with an elastic band to trap the moisture around the cuttings so that they preserve their moisture. We're looking for something called turgidity, in other words, a saturated environment full of water. And finally, you might need to put a label into the pot, just an ordinary white plastic label. Lolly sticks is perfectly fine. I use a pencil to write on my labels because then it doesn't rub off with the moisture. And all we're looking to put on here is the date in which the cuttings were taken, so that you've got some idea about when these are likely to strike.